is 10:30, but all the others are at 10.
And today are we using?
Friday nights, oh yeah, Friday night, yeah, I'm using gray books. Friday night,
Deeds of Gray.
uh, we're moving them around week after week after week, which is causing confusion. So I think in January,
That I remember because of the
Yeah.
conversation about.
yeah, I think in January they'll come to an end.
Oh, this one is very disturbing. It's sort of in the wrong order.
Oh, switch it.
Yeah.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, check.
Oh, boy.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, check.
These are
Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, page 104. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha avo vetecha. Eshtachaveh el hechal kodshecha be'ir atecha. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha, umkom mishkan kevodecha. Va'ani eshtachaveh ve'echra'a evrecha lifnei Adonai hosi. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon. Elohim berov chasdecha aneni be'emet yish'echa. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Excuse me, and welcome to all of you who are here with us in the sanctuary, all of you who are with us online. Thank you for sharing Shabbat with us together. I want to welcome our Bima guest in the sanctuary, Greg Stein, who is the treasurer of our congregation, and he's on the lookout to make sure that people who may have challenges getting in after we've started don't have as many challenges as they would otherwise have. So we're glad for that, and we're glad that we're all here to share Shabbat together. And of course, thank you, Mark, for making the technology work well so that those who are with us online can actually be with us. So we'll continue at this point on page 103 at the top, and we'll read that whole page together. We thank you, O God, for this time of prayer when we become conscious of your presence and place before you our desires, our hopes, and our gratitude. This consciousness, this inner certainty of your presence is our greatest blessing. God, bless our worship this day. May the gleams of your light, the visions of your truth, which bless us here, abide with us when we go out into the world, keeping us steadfast in loyalty to you and your commandments. Amen. Each of us enters this sanctuary with a different need. Some hearts are full of gratitude and joy. They are overflowing with the happiness of love and the joy of life. They are eager to confront the day, to make the world more fair. They are recovering from illness or have escaped misfortune. and we rejoice with them. Some hearts ache with sorrow. Disappointments weigh heavily upon them, and they have tasted despair. Families have been broken. Loved ones lie on a bed of pain. Death has taken those whom they cherished. May our presence and sympathy bring them comfort. Some hearts are embittered. They have sought answers in vain. Ideals are mocked and betrayed. Life has lost its meaning and value. May the knowledge that we too are searching restore their hope and give them courage to believe that not all is emptiness. Some spirits hunger. They long for friendship. They crave understanding. They yearn for warmth. May we, in our common need and striving, gain strength from one another as we share our joys, lighten each other's burdens, and pray for the welfare of our community. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher hideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. You hallow us with the gift of Torah and command us to immerse ourselves in its words. Eternal our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of your Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to your people, Israel. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Ve'elu hein. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Ve'elu hein. Kibud avaim ugmilut chasadim v'hashkamat beit hamidrash shacharit ve'arvit. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Elu devarim she'en lahem shior. Ve'elu hein. Ve'hachnasat orchim. Uvikor cholim. Ve'hachnasat kala. Ulvayat hamet. Ve'iyun tfilah. Ve'iyun tfilah. V'hava'at shalom bein adam l'chaveru. V'talmud Torah keneged kulam. 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 The soul that you have given me, O God, is pure. You created it. You formed it. You breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. So long as I have breath, therefore, I will give thanks to you, my God and the God of all ages, source of all being, loving guide of every human spirit. We praise you, O God, in whose hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasechvi vina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila. Praised be the eternal God who has implanted mind and instinct within every living being. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Praised be the eternal God who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben chorin. Praised be the eternal God who has made me to be free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Praised be the eternal God who helps the blind to see. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Praised be the eternal God who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Praised be the eternal God who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kfufim. Praised be the eternal God who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Praised be the eternal God who makes firm our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura. Praised be the eternal God who girds our people Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Praised be the eternal God who crowns Israel with glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam notein laya'ef koach. Praised be the eternal God who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'enai utnuma me'afapai. Praised be the eternal God who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Eternal One, our God, God of all ages, school us in your Torah and bind us to your mitzvot. Help us to keep far from sin, to master temptation, and to avoid falling under its spell. May our darker passions not rule us, nor evil companions lead us astray. Strengthen in us the voice of conscience, prompt us to deeds of goodness, and bend our every impulse to your service, so that this day and always we may know your love and the goodwill of all who behold us. We praise you, O God. You bestow love and kindness on your people Israel. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamnich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach, le'alam ula'almei almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yit'aleh, v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Body, mind, or spirit, please rise. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Baruch hu et Adonai, hamevorach, hamevorach. Baruch Adonai, hamevorach, leolam, leolam vaed. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due, now and forever. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, Ose shalom, shalom, uvore et hakol. Yotzer or, uvore choshech. Ose shalom, shalom, uvore et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or uvore choshech. Ose shalom, shalom, uvore et hakol. Yotzer or uvore choshech. Ose shalom, shalom, uvore et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer ha'ma'orot. We praise you, O God, creator of light. Deep is your love for us, abiding your compassion. From of old we have put our trust in you, and you have taught us the laws of life. Be gracious now to us, that we may understand and fulfill the teachings of your word. Enlighten our eyes in your Torah, that we may cling to your mitzvot. Unite our hearts to love and revere your name. We trust in you and rejoice in your saving power, for you are the source of our help. You have called us and drawn us near to you in faithfulness. Joyfully we lift up our voices and proclaim your unity, O God. In love you have called us to your service. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvchol nafshecha uvchol me'odecha. Vehayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam beshiftecha beveitecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvish'arecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai Vehitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Eternal truth it is that you alone are God and there is none else. May all the world rejoice in your love and exult in your justice. Let them beat their swords into plowshares. Let them beat their spears into pruning hooks. Let nation not lift up sword against nation. Let them study war no more. You shall not hate another in your heart. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Let the stranger in your midst be to you as the native, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. From the house of bondage we went forth to freedom, so let all be free to sing with joy. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. No ra tehilot osei fele, no ra tehilot osei fele. Shira chadasha, shibchu geulim, Leshimcha al sfat hayam, yachad kulam hodu v'himlichu v'amru, Adonai himloch, Adonai himloch, leolam va'ed. Tzur Yisrael, kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, ufdeichinu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai tziva'ot shemo, kedosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai al Yisrael. In body, mind, or spirit, please rise. Anananananana Adonai. Ananananana svatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana svatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana svatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana svatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana svatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana svatai tiftach. Ananananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, ve'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol atah rav lehoshia, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umkayem emunato, Lishene afar, Michamocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umchayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Vene'eman Ata L'Hachayot HaKol, Baruch Ata Adonai Mechayeh HaKol. Nekadesh et Shimcha Ba'olam, Keshem Shemakdishim Oto Bishmei Marom, Kakatuv al Yad Nevi'echa, V'kara ze el ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melo chol haaretz, Kevodo. Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch Adonai Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashmienu, merachamav le'enei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yichtzion, Ledor Vador, Hallelujah. Ledor Vador Nagid God Lecha, Ulnetzach Netzachim Kedushatcha Nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu Mipinu Lo Yamush Leolam Vaed. Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. We praise you, Eternal One, the Holy God. Please be seated. Yismechu v'malachutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutcha v'kor'ei oneg. Yismechu v'malachutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutcha v'kor'ei oneg. Amekadeshei shvi'i. Kulam yisbe'u ve'itangu mituvecha v'hashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto. Yismechu v'malachutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutcha v'kor'ei oneg. Yismechu v'malachutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutcha v'kor'ei oneg. Chemdat yamim oto karata, zecher l'maaseh, zecher l'maaseh v'reshit. Chemdat yamim oto karata, zecher l'maaseh, zecher l'maaseh v'reshit. Yismechu v'malachutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutcha v'kor'ei oneg. Yismechu v'malachutcha shomerei Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutcha v'kor'ei oneg. Our God, God of our fathers and our mothers, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our way of life. Satisfy us with your goodness, Gladden us with your salvation and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal God, let your holy Sabbath remain our heritage, that all Israel, hallowing your name, may find rest and peace. We praise you, O God, for the Sabbath and its holiness. We give thanks for the freedom that is ours, and we pray for those in other lands who are persecuted and oppressed. Help them to bear their burdens and keep alive in them the love of freedom and the hope of deliverance. Uphold also the hands of our brothers and sisters in the land of Israel. Cause a new light to shine upon Zion and upon us all, that the time may come when your Torah will go forth from the house of Israel, your word from the tents of Jacob. We praise you, our God, whose presence gives life to our people Israel. Modim anachnu lach, we thank you, God, for all the blessings in our lives, and we take a moment now to consider the blessings in our lives. And so if you are feeling particularly blessed this morning and have an opportunity to allow us to be blessed along with you, please share.
Thankful that I'm lucky enough to be able to stay awake late at night to watch a baseball.
That's good, yeah. A good baseball game too, by the way. Although we don't judge. We don't, you know. And this beautiful, I guess it's fall. Spring is almost here, but it's still fall. So
Winter is coming.
winter's coming, but spring is almost here. So we have to look forward to. But yeah, it's really a beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So for all the things that we've heard out loud, perhaps more blessings that may remain inside our own minds and hearts, we share this acknowledgement of God's blessing, this gratitude for all of our blessings. We gratefully acknowledge that you are our God and the God of our people, the God of all generations. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank you and sing your praises for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. You are goodness. Your mercies never end. You are compassion. Your love will never fail. You have always been our hope. Praised be the eternal God, to whom our thanks are due. We'll sing Sim Shalom together, and after Sim Shalom, we'll continue with silent prayer. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha, Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha, Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Sim Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Sim Shalom. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. Yehiu leratzon imre fi behegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiu leratzon imre fi behegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Yehiu leratzon imre fi Vehegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiu leratzon imre fi Vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri vegoali. The words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart always be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Page 141. Assembled at a mountain, our people, still bent from oppression, found you, found your Torah, found your truth, and embraced the destiny that has shaped worlds. Help us still to shape the world according to your will. Help us to teach and to learn, to hear your word anew, and to find in it our path to goodness and truth. And invite anyone who is interested in having the honor of helping with the Torah service. We need to open the ark, we're going to undress the scroll, all that kind of stuff. So come join us. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim ha'olam omed, Al Shlosha Devarim ha'olam omed, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim ha'olam omed, Al Shlosha Devarim ha'olam omed, Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim, Al HaTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim ha'olam omed, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim ha'olam omed, Al Shlosha Devarim. Havu godel Eloheinu utnu chavod la Torah. Let us declare the greatness of our God and give honor to the Torah. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, le'amo Yisrael b'hikdushato. Beit Yaakov lechu v'ne'elcha ba'or Adonai. O house of Jacob, come, let us walk by the light of our God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlul Adonai iti, Unromama Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz Lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'hamid naseh lechol erosh. Awesome, thanks, sir. All right. So we are. That's 2 weeks from now. So we'll do a little bat mitzvah run thing. And so we are actually at the beginning of the second portion of Genesis, the portion that talks about Noah, or as we say in Hebrew, Noach. And let's see, Noach.
It's easy to know if you go too far.
That's exactly right. You see the wooden dowel, you know. No, there we go. Beautiful. All right, so we are at the very beginning of the portion of Noah, chapter 6, verse 9, if you would. And, sorry, did I get that right? 6. Yeah, 6:9. All right. And let's all do the blessing together. Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach, Baruch Adonai hamborach leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato, Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Ele toldot Noach ish tzadik tamim haya b'dorotav et Elohim hitalech Noach vayoled Noach shlosha banim et Shem et Cham ve'et Yafet v'hishchit haaretz lifnei ha'Elohim v'timale haaretz chamas vayar Elohim et haaretz v'hinei nishchata ki hishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. Yeah.
This is the line of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was blameless in his age. Noah walked with God. Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth became corrupt before God. The earth was filled with lawlessness. When God saw how corrupt the earth was, for all flesh had corrupted its ways on earth.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So we consider now those in our families, our circle of friends, our congregation, our community at large, people who are in need of healing, in need of prayers for healing. We think of those who care for those in need of healing, wishing for them insight and skill and wisdom. And we think of those who care about those in need of healing, wishing for them endurance and strength and courage. We think especially this week of those from our congregational family, Bill Bly, Gaylord Conquest, Barbara Foreman, Marvin Fuchs, Jean Kamens, Ruth Kravitz, Bobby Locke, Steve Matzner, Lois Miller, John Rose, Bill Schneider, Velvel Ben Avraham, Pete Walsh. If you are thinking of someone who is in need of healing and in need of prayers for healing, and they would like for their name to be shared at this moment, please share it. For all the names that we've heard out loud, perhaps more names.
Zoning out.
All right. we think of all the names of, we think of all the people whose names we've heard out loud. We think of others whose names may not have been read aloud, but certainly resonate in our own hearts and minds. And we share this prayer of healing inside either the front or back cover as a series of stickers, and we'll do version number 4 this morning, version number 4. Mi sheberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Ve'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yevarech V'Yirapeh Et HaCholim El Narefana La El Narefana La El Narefana La El Narefana La Mi Sheberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Ve'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yevarech V'Yirapeh Et HaCholim Hu Yevarech V'Yirapeh Et HaCholim Hu Yevarech V'Yirapeh Et HaCholim. Izot Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Lai 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 lai. So, when I was growing up, my dad, may he rest in peace, he just wanted nothing to do with greeting cards. He thought greeting cards were just, it's a Hallmark holiday. It's a way to, handmade or nothing at all. Forgot about these greeting cards. And he wasn't really into holidays like Father's Day or Mother's Day or any of that stuff. He's like, just, why do we need a day? And while he didn't take it a step further, basically what he was really saying is everybody should be important all the time. We don't need a day to remember, to think about someone in particular. That everybody should be top on our mind. We should all, be of equal, importance at all times. And quite frankly, that's it's hard to sustain if we try that. But there are, days, like National Cream-Filled Donut Day, and there's Grandparents' Day, and there's, Father's Day, Mother's Day, whatever day. There's all these different days. And then we start going into months. Jewish Heritage Month, Black History Month, all these different months. And so there's lots of different opportunities. And I guess on some level, if we're really aware of things as we're living our lives, and we don't really need, that's the idea of the, when we split commandments into different categories, one way to split them is into the time-bound and the non-time-bound categories. So an example of a time-bound commandment is lighting Shabbat candles, right? You can light candles on Tuesday, you don't get points. It's not Shabbat. So they're not really Shabbat candles. A non-time-bound commandment is an example is tzedakah, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, it's almost 4 o'clock, I have to give tzedakah. It's not a time thing. It's just a way, a kind of a perception and understanding. And so we do it, we're commanded to do it when the opportunity arises. It's not like it has to happen at any given moment. It's just a kind of way of looking at the world. So that's a time-bound, non-time-bound. So pretty much with anything that we make a day for, on some level, perhaps we make a day for it because while we are aware of it during the rest of the year, we're not always paying as close enough attention as perhaps we ought to. And every once in a while we need a reminder because everything can't be of the same importance all the time because who can sustain that, right? So while Mental Health Awareness Month is May, because that's when it happens, this past month has been an interesting one because I've been kind of alerted to and reminded of just things that have been going on mostly in the lives of our teenagers. In the school systems, there are all sorts of things with teens hurting themselves, accidents, suicide, all kinds of things going on. And in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, Sharon Forman-Toll and I hosted a discussion on a Sunday morning for kids from the Conestoga school system, specifically to discuss some things that were going on in there, open to all the students and parents. And the people who came, we gave out handed out some resources, some physical resources. We had a really powerful conversation. We talked about some really some powerful topics, and it was cathartic on some level for the people who were there to really have an opportunity to kind of be in a safe place where they knew the people facilitating the discussion. We were able to really interact with them and come up with some ways that people who experience those things because they see it happen around them can kind of figure out ways to move forward. Also, when if how to help the relatives of the people. I mean, there's all kinds of different levels and different nuanced circumstances that surround any given experience. Well, interestingly enough, I wanted to share with you. This is a book, you've heard me read from this before. It's called A Year with Martin Buber, Wisdom on the Weekly Torah Portion, put together by Rabbi Dennis Ross. And wanted to share with you Martin Buber's insights on Noah, this week's Torah portion. And there's the kind of basic explanation of the portion, and then there's a very kind of brief called the Buber's Insight. All right, so this is the basic explanation from Rabbi Ross about the portion, the pshat. And you may remember, we read verses 9 through 13, 9, 10, 11, 12, 9 through 12. In verse 9 it said, Noah was a righteous man in his generation. Noah walked with God, right? And so, let's see. The earth has grown so corrupt and lawless that God decides to send a great flood to destroy everything, except for Noah, his family, and a selection of animals, right? God didn't start over, really, because God could have just destroyed everything and say, this is all awful, let's do something new, completely new. God started with the basic of each thing and let each thing develop again. So it wasn't a real replacement of everything. It was just a kind of a new start for the things that were already there. Powerful in and of itself is the idea of second chances and all that kind of stuff. So the earth grows so corrupt. God, a great flood, okay. Except for Noah, his family, and a selection of animals. Noah builds a life-saving ark. Rain follows, the earth floods, and the downpour ends after 40 days. The waters subside, humanity gets a second chance, and we are left with many questions, including, why did God spare Noah? In responding to that question, the rabbis weigh Noah's merit. We read that Noah was a righteous personage. He was blameless in his age. Noah walked with God. which brings the rabbis to question why the Torah qualifies Noah's righteousness with the words, in his age. What if Noah lived in an age when people were better behaved? Would the Torah speak so enthusiastically of his righteousness? The rabbis explore this fine point to offer an important lesson on responsibility. Noah receives praise as well as criticism among the rabbis. Rashi sums it up with, some of our rabbis explain it to his credit. He was righteous even in his generation. It follows that had he lived in a generation of righteous people, he would have been even more righteous, owing to the force of good example. Others, however, explain it to his discredit. In comparison with his own generation, he was accounted righteous, but had he lived in the generation of Abraham, he would have been accounted as of no importance. The conclusion? Noah's moral limits are evident when he shows no concern or sadness for the flood victims. He comes across as indifferent to the plight of the rest of humanity. By contrast, Abraham, who with Sarah covenanted with God, confronts God on a matter of justice when the cities and residents of Sodom and Gomorrah are to be destroyed for their sins. Abraham, concerned that the blameless will suffer the same fate as the perpetrators, expresses moral alarm when he challenges God. Will you sweep away the innocent with the guilty? Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly? Well, Abraham was outspoken on behalf of any innocence, while Noah remained speechless. True, Noah walked with God, but only because in a world of tragic failure, Noah's moral mediocrity was the best God could find. That's powerful, right? Because we know we can go different ways. So, yeah, and it's true. Some, the extreme, right? The world was so corrupt that it wasn't really hard to be all that righteous, So if Noah was the least worst of the worst, then in any other time he wouldn't even be noticed, right? But so Noah's moral mediocrity was the best God could find. So this is titled Buber's Insight, this little drash on the portion. A dramatic incident transformed Buber from a Noah into an Abraham. In early adulthood, Buber spent many hours in private meditation. One such afternoon, a young stranger, Mehe, unexpectedly showed up at his home and interrupted Buber's session. While Buber let the visitor in for a conversation, he was preoccupied by the afterglow of his meditation. He listened to Mehe, but withheld curiosity and responded with indifference and superficiality. Mehe left with his concerns unaddressed. Months later, another visitor brought Buber news of Mehe's death. Some said Mehe died in battle in World War I. Others said suicide. Shocked, Buber told this second visitor that he felt personally responsible. Had he only asked Mehe a few questions, he might have saved his life. The visitor responded that he knew that Mehe greatly appreciated the time with Buber, and while Buber understood that he had not caused Mehe's death, he knew that he had failed Mehe by withholding himself. Mehe had turned to Buber with hope, only to receive a less than wholehearted response. Moreover, Buber saw his indifference as an affront to God. Even then, several years before releasing I and Thou, Buber believed that earthly deeds impact God in heaven, what he came to call eternal Thou. By brushing off Mehe, Buber had squandered a spiritual opportunity. This tragedy was a turning point for Buber. He made a firm commitment to be as attentive, actively curious, and responsive as he could when talking to someone, to be in a relationship he would later articulate as I, Thou. I thought that was really interesting. The idea of, some of you may be familiar with Buber's I, Thou concept or not, but the idea that when we're, with an object, you can't really have an I-thou relationship with an object. The object is inanimate, but with another person, you can have this I-thou relationship where you're really connecting and you're really feeling that there's something there. there's this sense of something greater, especially when the two of you are interacting. Rhonda.
So, thinking about what you said at the beginning with your father, with the greeting cards and all
Mm-hmm.
that, and then just thinking about this at the same time.
Yeah.
And this vow, who made this vow, but very hard to keep that up all the time. Sometimes you're going to be distracted and you got something going on in your mind. You can't give your full attention to somebody who's talking.
Right.
Was that the point of talking about the greeting cards and before you talked about this?
Well, yeah, because on some level, I mean, the point, the reason why I mentioned it was because, it's difficult, to, like you said, to sustain that kind of level of intensity and awareness all the time about everything. That's just a lot, right? And yet, we aren't always as attentive as we could be in certain situations. And of course, hindsight is 20/20, right? And it's not that, again, Boober didn't cause Mayhay's death, but there was this, the student knocks on the door, but Boober had just finished his own kind of thing and was so kind of, in his own moment that he kind of neglected, a teacher of mine once said, because when I did an internship in rabbinical school, and there was one day, he called me and he said that he's not going to be in the next day because he's not well, and when he came back the day after, when he was not there, I still was up there in Connecticut, so I went into the synagogue and everybody was talking about how Rabbi Summer, like he never takes off, he's never sick, whatever. But so something really must be wrong, and he wasn't really wrong. He just had a cold, and it was just it was kind of getting to him. But what he said to me, he said, when you're there at the synagogue, people are expecting you to be their rabbi. They can't be your rabbi, and it can be your rabbi, and you can have relationships, but when you're there in the role of the rabbi, you need to be there and be present. And I didn't feel like I could be present that day, and so I needed to stay home. And that was really interesting, that there are times where, it's not you kind of remove yourself from the situation completely, but the idea of sustaining that attention and awareness, sometimes we need to be reminded of the importance of being aware of things, because we can't hold that high level of awareness all the time. Yeah. Boober. Yeah, absolutely. My dad. Yeah. It's fun. It's interesting because there was a point where my dad made a change for a number of reasons and at different points, but. No, because happy wife, happy life. Absolutely, he was attentive to but he was doing it for his own. Like he knew it was important to her, and he didn't want to suffer the consequences. It's like when I have students in class who are not being as respectful as they could, or who are causing a disturbance because they don't want to be there. And I explain to to the more challenging students. Every single student in every single religious school class everywhere around the world ever is only there because they choose on their own to be there. And anyone who says that's not true isn't really aware of the circumstances. Look at your wrists, look at your ankles, no shackles, no chains, right? You can get up and walk out of this room anytime you want. Now, there may be consequences to that choice, in which case you'll suffer those consequences if there are. And if you know that there will be consequences and you choose not to suffer those consequences, you may choose to avoid those consequences by staying in class, but that's a choice you're making, right? So you're choosing to be here. Could be because you want to be, could be because you want to avoid something else. And it could get to the point where at some point someone may have to make a choice for you because you're not willing to make your own choice in the best interest of everyone involved. But that's, again, your choice to kind of wait it out that long. But as long as you're choosing to be here, you can choose to participate and actually get something out of it, because why do you think those who force you to be here, using your words, would force you to be somewhere that wasn't worthwhile? So maybe give it a shot. Or you can choose to just, lose out on the opportunity and waste your time and not get anything out of it and, be upset about it. And then that's just, it's just your loss. So, it's all your choice. But it's all a choice. But that, when we're in a moment, what are we choosing in terms of where we're putting our attention and what we're paying attention to? And of course, when something's unspoken, it's not always easy to recognize it as something that needs to be addressed. So who knows? They could have spoken for an hour, and maybe he never would have gotten it, heard anything different from me.
I think the moral of the story, the Noah story, then, it may be that moral mediocrity is underrated. That Noah saved the world by being morally mediocre. And maybe if more of our political leaders could rise to the level of moral mediocrity, it'd be a much better society.
The other day when we were talking with Sharon, I guess, Mark, you would be.
It's funny, but it's also true.
I know, I'm trying to process this.
John, remember Sharon mentioned the concept of the good enough mother. And, you don't have to be the most amazing mother in the world. You're just a good enough mother, that's
Right. Right.
like, if you're rising at least to the level of mediocrity or maybe an inch above, that's pretty good. Because there's plenty of people who are really in the basement morally.
Right. And then, along with that, there's difference between, because he didn't necessarily, well, so we don't, listen, it's not recorded that he said anything to God about the other people that were there, which means we just don't know, right? I mean, and that's the beauty of Midrash. And Rabbi Gelman's Midrash about this story, where he says, he's building someone said, "What are you doing there, Noah?" He's like, "I'm just building a statue." And then someone else said, "Well, it's kind of looking like a boat." "Oh, I'm building a statue of a boat, that's all, And Noah said to his friend, "You've always been talking about moving to a place with a view. Now might be a good time for you to move up to that hill that you, nearby. Or, you should take those swimming lessons you've been talking about for a long time." Right? And then the end of the story is, I don't know why God chose me. God could have chosen anyone. Kind of, passively suggesting that, you could get your act together on your own. Like, that everyone's got to be accountable for themselves. And then the end of the line is, some say it was rain, some say it was God's tears, crying for what was not salvageable. But yeah, did he say anything? Did he not? We don't know. But then, also the last episode of Seinfeld, you've heard me talk about before. One of my teachers used to say, when we see something going on, we can do the right thing, we can do the wrong thing, or we can do no thing at all, which oftentimes is tantamount to doing the wrong thing. Right? We don't have to get involved actively in every single situation, but if we notice it in the first place, and then don't do anything, that's a problem. That's a challenge. So anyway, I was intrigued by the story about Buber and what led to the idea of the I-thou relationship, which I studied in rabbinical school and was very taken by. Anyway, with that, let's put our Torah scroll back in the Ark. Page, unless anyone has any more comments. No. Page 146. Body, mind, or spirit, please rise. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Ki Niskav Shemo Levado. Let us praise our eternal God, whose name alone is exalted. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren le'amo, tehila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. God's teaching is perfect, reviving the soul. God's word is unfailing, making wise the simple. God's precepts are right, delighting the mind. God's mitzvah is clear, giving light to the eyes. God's doctrine is pure, enduring forever. God's guidance is true and altogether just. Behold, a good doctrine has been given you, my Torah. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Help us to return to you, O God. Then truly shall we return. Renew our days as in the past. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati, al ta'azovu. Eitz chaim hi lamachazikim ba, v'tomcheha meushar. Deracheha darchei noam, v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva. Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. No, do the announcements, yeah. And let's see. So now I'm going to ask Greg to share with us some exciting news about incredible things going on in our fantastic community.
Okay. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we have religious school, and at noon, confirmation class. On Wednesday, November 2nd, 7:30 in the morning, we have morning minyan. That will be Zoom only. Thursday, November 3rd, noon Torah study will be in person and on Zoom. And at 7 o'clock in the evening, management team meeting. Couple save the dates. Getting to know you, starting Sunday, October 30th at 2 p.m. There will be a weekly opportunity to do a Zoom chat with other members of Brit Hachim. Information is in the weekly announcements. Also, Artist in Residence, November 4th through the 6th. Friday the 4th at 6 p.m. there will be dinner followed by Shabbat services at 7, led by Cantor Klepper and Rabbi Freelander, featuring our TBA choir. Saturday, November 5th, lunch after the 10:30 a.m. Shabbat service. And at 7 p.m., we have a community concert at the Upper Marion Middle School. Information is also in the weekly announcements and on our TBA website. Finally, Sunday, December 4th, 8:30 to 2 p.m., we're going to have our Hanukkah gift show. And that is all of our events coming up.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Excuse me. Yeah, and the next weekend, just a quick reminder. I keep on forgetting to save the page, but Rabbi Danny Freelander and Cantor Jeff Klepper, and just a little taste of some of their music we did this morning. We sang Ma Tovu, which is that melody that we used is theirs. Also, the Elu Devarim is theirs that we sang. And we also sang Yotzer Or, which is their melody. And then I think that's about it in terms of Yisbachu, that's their melody. And Yisbachu, Yotzer Or. Yeah. So that's a good one. Oh, and the what will be our closing song, Oseh Shalom. That's also theirs, and so they're and of course we didn't do it this morning because it's an evening prayer, even though we didn't even do it last evening. But many people know Shalom Rav is theirs, the one that we do. Shalom Rav Yisrael. Anyway, so that'll be great. It's very exciting. They're looking forward to being here and to leading services with me next Friday night. Saturday lunchtime is a tribute to Debbie Friedman. So they'll be during lunch. They'll be talking about Debbie and her life and sharing some of her music. So that'll be really exciting. We do a lot of Debbie stuff too, and so. Anyway, who doesn't, right? And then Saturday night, the concert at the Upper Merion Area Middle School, open to the community. As I've been saying, there are only 658 seats in the auditorium, so make sure you buy your tickets. Don't miss out, because we want to make sure that everybody who wants to be there gets to be there. And of course, we can't finish there until we finish here. So, in body, mind, or spirit, we continue with Aleinu on page 148. Page 148, in body, mind, or spirit, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'teit gdula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבותה אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. The contemplation of death should plant within the soul elevation and peace. Above all, it should make us see things in their true light. For all things which seem foolish in the light of death are really foolish in themselves. To be annoyed because someone has slighted us or has been somewhat more successful in social distinctions, pulled himself somehow one rung higher up the ladder than ourselves, how ridiculous all this seems when we couple it with the thought of death. To pass each day simply and solely in the eager pursuit of money or fame, this also seems like living with shadows when one might take one's part with realities. Surely when death is at hand, we should desire to say, I have contributed my grain to the great store of the eternal. I have borne my part in the struggle for goodness. And let no man or woman suppose that the smallest social act of goodness is wasted for society at large. All our help, whatever it be, is needed. And though we know not the manner, the fruit of every faithful service is gathered in, that the true and noble words of a great teacher ring in conclusion upon our ears. The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might otherwise have been, is half owing to the number who lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. We now recall the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and as we remember those who died at this season in years past, we take them into our hearts with our own. This is the period of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning for Jackie Student, a longtime congregant, and also period of Shiva for Lawrence Lee Schuon, father of Allison Schatzman. And the following yard sites will be observed at some point during the coming week. This Shabbat, we remember Robert Hartwig Jr., father of Bob Hartwig, Michael Streeb, brother of Rachel Alvini, James Kaplan, uncle of Chuck Fox, Thomas Williams, father of Arden Saligman, Harry Friedlander, grandfather of Randy Cohen, Albert Bartolo, father of Michael Bartolo, G. Stephen Foss, late husband of Marcia Foss, father of Cordelia Foss and father of Maxine Foss, Richard Rosenblum, brother of Steve Rosenblum, and Oscar Schultz, father of Mark Schultz. If you are observing a period of mourning or remembering anyone in particular and would like to share a name with us, please do so. In this moment of memory, our griefs and our sympathies are mingled. Loving God, we praise your name by affirming the lives that we must continue to live, enriched by the memories left to us by those who have died. As we turn now to page 154, and as one supportive community in body, mind, or spirit, we rise for Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, this prayer about life. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirute, v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv, v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam ul'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens cause peace to reign among us, all Israel, and all who dwell on earth. And may the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen. Please be seated. There's our closing song right there at the top of 155, Oseh Shalom B'Romav. Oseh Shalom, Shalom B'Romav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom B'Mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. And we continue with the morning Kiddush on page 167. And I invite up Greg for the honor of the Kiddush and the Motzi. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael ot hi le'olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shavat, Shavat, Vainafash, Shavat, Shavat, Vainafash, Shavat, Shavat, Vainafash, Shavat, Shavat, Vainafash. Al Kain Beirach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat Vayikadshehu. Therefore, the Eternal One blessed the seventh day and called it holy.
All right. Baruch atah Adonai. We're going to do this first.
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai. Barei Pri Hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. What great faith to just start the motzi without even checking to make sure that there's really bread there. That was great.
Well.
It's like the Israelites in the wilderness. Like God will provide. It's got to be there. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That was great. Yeah, that's when it was still there, right? It's like when kids sneak out and they put pillows under the blanket, so it looks like they're under. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you, Greg. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to all of you for being here. Mark, thanks for the technology. And Shabbat Shalom.
Good discussion. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Cheryl. Shabbat Shalom.
Concept of being morally good enough and doing something